Hail and welcome, friends. I am your resident aggro mage here to bring you a brand new Earth Air deck tech featuring a medieval army, essentially, is what we're going to be raising in order to contest the realm and stick it to our opponent mages and sorcerers. They can suck it. And I'm going to show you just how to do that with this brand new deck tech. I just threw this deck together. I've played quite a few games with it. It is absolutely fun and a blast to play. I wouldn't call it necessarily super competitive. I am not a tournament player. I'm a casual player, a kitchen table player, if you will. But here I'm presenting this video just to show you what I came up with, and I hope you enjoy. You know, I put some thought into it, and while Sorcerer can be considered pretty vanilla and just generally like, oh yeah, that's basically strong, oh, of course Sorcerer, because you're just drawing a spell every turn. It's like, dude, absent any special synergy avatar, which I don't really possess right now, other than maybe the Savior from Gothic, but I'm keeping him in the precon. I can just run Savior in this deck. Sorcerer just speeds everything up. It just makes everything much smoother, much faster, and Sorcerer usually during a game is the reason I can just outgrind and outlast simply because of the tap to draw spell ability. So I don't begrudge people for playing Sorcerer. I think Sorcerer is good in any deck, and I think most people won't disagree with me. So while I would like a more flavorful sort of avatar, it is fun to like role play, like, oh, I'm the Sorcerer helping the the peasants and the foot soldiers and the knights out. I've been contracted to come help this king or whatever, because I'm like that. I'm nerdy like that, guys. I mean, it's just good. It's just so good in this deck. And that is why Sorcerer is the avatar. And until I find something, or until they release something that's a little more, I suppose, flavorful, or maybe that synergizes with, ordinary foot soldiers and, yada, yada, yada. Until it synergizes with something, most of the things in this deck, I'm just going to run the Sorcerer, and you can hate me for it, but it's damn good. You can't argue that. So here we have our allotted 30 lands. I'm not trying to run anything more than that because I like consistency. I'm going to start off. We got plenty of earth and air threshold to go around. Pretty straightforward. We're going to get a bunch of villages, 7 to be exact, 3 simple villages, 3 rustic, and 1 humble village. The Necromancer avatar is kind of where I got the inspiration. What if instead of just generating skeletons, a bunch of 1-drop skeletons, we generate a bunch of 1-drop human foot soldier tokens? It is a slightly weaker strategy because A, I have to tap and place sites in order to get this. B, it's a one-off Genesis effect, but with this many villages in the deck, I am never really short of chump blocking foot soldiers that can also turn and go aggro against the enemy opponent. Next, we run 4 hamlets. We have a lot of ordinary minions in this deck, so obviously we're trying to cheat them out for as little mana as possible. For example, like a 1 mana land surveyor. For 1 mana, play a minion that can chump block and get a site. I don't think there's anything much stronger than that in terms of earth. And then obviously like Apprentice Wizard and your Cloud Spirits and everything like that. Hamlet comes in clutch when you need a minion really fast. 3 Briar Patch. I draw a Briar Patch probably mostly once every game that I play with this deck. Briar Patch simply, it's a floodgate. It ruins most other minions that you have coming at you. If you play a Briar Patch and let's say, you want to deal 1 damage by having one of their minions pass through it to get to your avatar, Well, if you have an adjacent unit just standing by ready to chump block, if they move to that site, you can go ahead and attack them and deal that damage and kill them. We got another floodgate, gnome hollows. Units with power 3 or more can't enter this site. So battle mage, automatically no. Anything 3 power and above, automatically no. You pretty much just put up a wall with this site here, right? But your foot soldiers can move through it easily, and all of your lower level, your cheaper 1 power minions that you'll be cheating out with the hamlets will be able to move through with ease. I also run 1 Rift Valley. I happened to pull it out of a box opening, and I found it pretty handy because let's say your enemy has a body of water with like a giant shark or a submerged minion, a big kraken in it. You can use the Rift Valley to easily, let me just put this in the middle of your body of water, cut it in half, kind of eliminate that whole scenario of your foot soldiers, your knights, your whatevers moving through the body of water in order to get to the enemy, and they can walk safely across the Rift Valley. I pulled this bedrock from another box opening. Site destruction is a thing in this game, so can't be moved, destroyed, or modified. Pretty self-explanatory, and it gives us 1 earth threshold. And finally, for this little section, I'm going to use a free city. Free city is another floodgate. As you can see, it has power 3 right there. And once per turn, it may attack or defend against an enemy unit here. So yeah, just go ahead and kill a 3 power thing, and that's not going to kill the site. So you basically get a free block or a free attack on top of this site here. Another good floodgate. And there's a random windmill. Nothing special, just a dual threshold of air and earth. Pretty useful, all things considered. It'll help us reach our dual threshold, multiple threshold minions better. Minions and spells. I run 3 towers, 1 lone, 1 dark, 1 gothic. It's helpful to note that you only get this Genesis mana gain if this is the only version of this tower that you have in play. So obviously you just run each individual copy, no extra copies. That way you can guarantee every time you see a tower, you're getting another mana. Now we move on to Lookout. Lookout, pretty self-explanatory. Genesis, look at each opponent's hand. Really fun. I use it to trip people up and look at their hand. You get to plan around what they have, and then it tends to make people think twice about executing what they're going to execute, because obviously you're going to see it coming from a mile away, hence the Lookout. Treetop Hideout. Genesis, give stealth to nearby allied minion. Pretty self-explanatory. You got I run Valkyries in this deck, for instance. It's like an airborne minion that untaps all allied minions here, right? So you swing in, you do a big attack with your Valkyries, and they're like, shoot, I gotta get rid of that Valkyries. Well, I play this site next to it and I give it stealth at the end of turn. If you just delay your natural site drop, then you're good to go. And on the opposite end, we have Watchtower. Enemy units atop nearby sites permanently lose stealth. I think there's not much to say there. Just stealth is an issue in this game, so it's helpful to have a site that makes your enemy lose their stealth. I also play Beacon. Gain 1 mana for each nearby site with an enemy atop it. If you play this thing far enough forward, especially middle to late game, you're just reaping a ton of mana. Pretty self-explanatory there. And then I play a copy of Updraft Ridge. Occasionally, it is very nice to give airborne minions. Like I run Cloud Spirit and Zeppelin, which both have movement +2. Well, you know what would be better is if both of those had movement +3, right? And there's our site base. 30 sites, good to go. Great for an aggro strategy. Oh boy, a bunch of minions. This is the minion section of the deck. Pretty wide variety, a pretty versatile bunch here. I'm just going to go down the list in order from least expensive to most expensive. to our top end. I did throw 1 grain sparrow in there. Sometimes it is just good to gain 2 life. And 2 life may not sound like a lot, it is. That's like potentially 2 attacks on undefended sites restored to your life total. Also, it's airborne. Who doesn't love an airborne 1/1 chump blocker? We got the Eveline Dryads. They provide 1 mana. I only run 2 copies of these because I also have the towers that generate me 1 extra mana. But these Dryads are pretty cool because they generate it once per turn. Land Surveyor, staple. If you cast one of these to a hamlet, you're only casting it for 1 mana. 1 mana, draw a site, play it. You know, it's pretty good. It doesn't get much better for your in-game economy than that. I also have the Miracle Workers in order to try to capitalize on multiple Genesis triggers of, say, a Land Surveyor, your Grain Sparrows, and all that. So Miracle Worker is pretty good. Also a good chump block. Now we're getting into our damage dealers. This is how we deal with a lot of minions on the board. We added a bunch of range to this deck. A good low cost 2 and 1 air threshold Sherwood Huntress usually gets the job done for 2 power. She can snipe most enemy minions that are coming for your avatar. Really good defense. Same thing here with the Belmont Longbowmen. Just for 1 extra mana, you get 1 extra power. Doesn't get more difficult than that. And it's Earth Threshold. So let's say like we didn't get the air threshold for our Sherwood Huntress. Next turn, we're just going to cast a 3 mana Belmont Longbowman to do the job. York Crossbowmen, I would run more copies of this. It takes no damage from range strikes, except for the fact that it is 2 Earth Threshold. I think that's just a little too expensive on Threshold, even though we usually don't have a problem with that. It's just nice to get these out on earlier turns than, say, get stuck with one of these in your hand, so I run 1 copy of that. Now this guy's interesting. I love the Kite Archer because he's literally kiting your enemies around. Shoot, after performing a ranged strike, Kite Archer may take a step. So shoot and retreat back to your avatar, or shoot and do something else, right? Or shoot and advance, which is even cooler, right? You get closer to their avatar. If they're on death's door and you've got a Kite Archer 1 space away, if you can shoot and move and put them truly on the back foot on their last turn, it's pretty good. You can't really beat that. Then we've got some pikemen. Albaspine pikemen, strike first. You know, if you're a Magic player, you know what first strike is. It just issues damage first. I've taken out Shoggoths with this thing because if you attack, let's say, a 5 power minion, you deal that damage first, and then they deal like their remaining 2 damage. Well, your pikemen aren't gonna die, and then if you attacked with a second minion, then they're surely gonna perish, right? It is to Earth Threshold. Otherwise, I might run a little more copies of it, but I kind of just want something that's more easily brought to the board than that. It is a very good card, though. Now we're moving on. We do run another Spellcaster because who doesn't love casting Arc Lightning, right? Apprentice Wizard, obviously, Spellcaster. And you can draw an extra spell, right? And he's an ordinary minion. If you noticed, a lot of these are just straight up ordinary that we can summon to any one of our hamlets for 1 less. So actually, these values of their mana aren't their real values, realistically. Moving on, we got Mage Slayer, one of my favorite artworks in the whole game. I mean, look at that. How badass does that look? Mage Slayer for when I want to kill a Spellcaster minion, right? And it's nearby, so you just cast him. You know, he's ordinary. You can cast him to a hamlet. If they got a Spellcaster on your doorstep, bye-bye. End of story. He gets the job done. Shield Maidens. I love this card. Nearby allies take 1 less damage. I would totally run more copies of this. But they are exceptional, so they don't quite work with the ordinary synergy we got going. And it is 2 threshold for that. So right now, I'm satisfied with 1 copy of this. This Every time it's come onto the board, it's pretty much either saved me from losing or just totally helping me win outright. Vanguard Knights. Vanguard Knights have +2 power if they're alone in the first forward of your units. This card is simply amazing. A 4, playing it forward and just charging in. I mean, look at that artwork. Super badass. So it's basically, if you're playing it right, it should always be a 4 power minion, right? You should just play these guys forward. I simply don't have another copy of this. Otherwise, I might run 2, but yep, pretty good card. Mordric Druids. This is simply phenomenal. It's an elite, so clearly it's can't run too many copies. It's a spellcaster. Whenever you lose life due to an undefended attack nearby, that attacker's controller also loses that much life. Yeah, it's kind of good to burn people for damage in this game, especially when you're punishing them for doing the most basic action that helps win them the game, right? So yeah, you might make them think twice, especially if they're on less health than you. So extremely good card. White Heart. Geez, what else can I say about this? It's unique, which is kind of a shame, but I see why it's unique. Other minions and locations nearby can't be attacked. I don't think I need to say much more than that. You just put this next to your avatar and that's it, right? They gotta play farther away, and if you're playing farther away, you're playing in the arena with the Vanguard Knights, you're playing in the arena with the Kite Archers that are stepping forward, you're playing in the arena where you're not actually dealing damage to me. So, phenomenal. And then we're going to move on to our little airborne section. We got 2 copies of Cloud Spirit, a chump blocker with airborne with movement +2. What else? I mean, what else is there? Honestly, Cloud Spirit, every time I played this card, it's just been defensive and it's saved my avatar, I'll tell you that. We're going to run a copy of Zephyrain Airship, airborne, movement +2, like a Cloud Spirit, except it can carry units. And it's 3 power. So yeah, basically what you do is you move 1 space, pick up a bunch of units and move them to the next and deploy them. Untapped, ready to go onto the other enemy's site. Super good for our aggro strategy, especially since it can carry any number. If we've got a bunch of foot soldiers running around, we just disperse the foot soldiers all over their back row, right? Ideally. Doesn't happen all the time, but it's damn near perfect every time I do it. Gyre Hippogriffs. This is a classic, airborne and charge. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. Airborne with charge to just go in and nab their avatar or something, get them on, while they're on death's door, charge them with the Hippogriffs. And finally, moving on to the top end of our deck, the highest cost would be Midland Army at 8. We're going to go with a White Knight. This is a really good defense card. As you can see, it's got 3 attack, 5 defense. Earth Air Threshold, so it fits in with this deck very nicely. Costs 2 less if you have less life than each opponent. So if you're getting your butt kicked and you're about to go to death's door, well then deploy your White Knight for 3 mana. So doesn't get much better than that. And the reason I don't run more copies is it's two different thresholds, and I mean, if you're winning, you're just gonna have to cast it for 5. So you never want more than 1 copy of these in your hand. And with our card draw that we're getting off of our sorcerer, then we can always dig for this guy. Silver Valkyries. Airborne at the end of your turn, untap all allies here. This card is pretty nuts when you're just rushing headlong. And you finally cast this and you're able to just get in there. And then finally, when all your guys are in their most vulnerable spot, it helps you from being overextended. So if all your minions are on their backfield trying to hit their avatar and the Valkyries swoop in, untap all of them. Well, then they can defend each other while they're deep behind enemy lines. King of the Realm, other mortals have +1 power. I control all mortals. Every time I've cast this guy, I've won the game somehow. Every time I've cast this guy, if you cast this guy on the back of like a border militia or something like that you casted your previous turn, where you have a bunch of foot soldiers, now you have a bunch of 2 powers running around, right? So really good. And then Midland Army, this card is just freaking cool. This card is mostly for flavor, but every time I've cast it, I've won. Tap, target a location up to 3 steps away, deal 4 damage to each unit. Unit, not minion, unit. So you could just bomb their avatar. And then Death Right, you get a bunch of foot soldiers, right? So, I mean, the best way I can describe this deck is versatile. Every time I've played this deck, I can get, like there's a card, Cursed Albatross. Basically, it's like a bomb that kills all nearby minions where it died, that it kamikazes into one of your units. I can recover from just about anything with this because of all the support for all the ordinary stuff we're running. Obviously, I'm common sensing a bunch. I'm using the sorcerer to draw a bunch of spells, so they come back really quick. It's a great template for a good list. Here we have all of these support cards that are going to be giving us just that little extra edge on top of our minions. I'll just show you real quick. This is the entire, I'll call it a panel, our panoply, our menagerie of magics, artifacts, and such. It's pretty anemic, you'll notice. This is all the minions we're playing. We're playing pretty much as much minions as we are playing sites. The reason being is because this is an aggro list. It is very minion heavy, and I wanted that on purpose. A lot of this stuff is going to be geared towards supporting minions, not so much other things. Because we're playing sorcerer, we can draw a whole bunch, and we're mostly drawing spells the whole game, so you won't really need, like, I always run into at least 1 copy of each of these a game. Probably not like the single copy ones or like the Dispel, but for the most part, this has served me well, right? So we'll just go down the list. We've got, obviously, in order from least expensive to most expensive mana-wise, we've got Mixed Terra. Sacrifice Mixed Terra, equip it to your avatar, sacrifice it. The bearer's next earth spell requires no threshold and costs 3 less. In this deck, that basically means cast something for free, because most of our stuff is 3 mana or below, and most of our stuff is 1 earth threshold or 2 earth threshold, right? So, I mean, getting a free minion or a free magic, it doesn't get much better, folks. Divine Healing, 3 earth threshold. This is like great late game if you guys are grinding on and you're both like next to death's door. Well, gaining 7 life out of nowhere is phenomenal. There's not much else to say. Then we have Overpower. Give an ally +2 power this turn with the foot soldier tokens. If you do that to a foot soldier, and it's an ordinary magic, as we'll see with Common Sense, giving this to a foot soldier is pretty good. If you do this on the back of, say, a border militia, which you'll see, is that having a bunch of foot soldiers attacking and one of them have +2 going up to 3 power, it causes your opponent to really prioritize trying to get rid of that 3 power minion this turn. And if they can't, well, that's 3 more damage, or 2 more damage that you will be dealing with. Common Sense, Common Sense, Common Sense, Common Sense. This is a bread and butter card for this deck. This is the ultimate go search for an ordinary card. Go search your spellbook for an ordinary card. Shuffle it. reveal it and put it into your hand. Shuffle. Search for a land surveyor. Search for an overpower. Search for a dispel. Search for a tactical move. Search for archers. Search for... Basically, search for a spellcaster. Search for a mage slayer. Dude, this whole deck is most of this, like 95% of this deck is searchable with this card. Moving on. Blink, staple. I think this is just a staple card with any deck that has air. Teleport to ally teleports to a location it's nearby. Draw. Card draw. Here's another one. Power of flight. Give one of your little minions flight and then draw a spell. Self-explanatory, these two. I think these are staples in any deck that runs air. Rain of arrows. Deal 1 damage to each above ground minion. Extremely good against other, like, low to the ground 1 power minion strategies. Necromancer? Skeletons? No problem. We'll deal with that. It does, if you are like running all your foot soldiers around, it does kind of like, okay, I want to hold on to this until most of my foot soldiers are gone, because doing that and making a bunch of foot soldiers only to kill them with this card, it feels pretty bad. So I only run 2 copies, but it does come in handy sometimes. Call to War. Search your spellbook for an exceptional mortal. Reveal it. Put it in your hand. Shuffle. I would absolutely run 2 copies if I had 2 copies of this. I would probably replace a Rain of Arrows for a Call to War, simply because, you search your knight, you search your white knight, you search your vanguard knights, you search your shield maidens. That's just how it goes. But I only have 1 copy, so, but every time I've drawn it and used it, it's been phenomenal, right? It's pretty much pushed me over the top. Tactical move. One at a time, each ally takes up to 2 steps. Everybody on the board getting movement +2 is pretty strong. Pretty dang strong. Especially in an aggro strategy when we're trying to run a bunch of knights and foot soldiers and archers around. Phenomenal card. I run 3 copies for a reason. Even with just 1 foot soldier on the board, if you're able to take 2 steps and smack their avatar for game on Death's Door, it's pretty good. I run a random dispel because you never know when you're going to need to deal with an artifact or aura, right? And it hits all of them. So pretty good, pretty potent. You do need a spellcaster available for it. I only run 1 copy. Shield Wall. This, until your next turn, each ally takes 1 less damage for each other ally that's nearby. If you're in deep, you've got a bunch of minions on 1 space attacking. You have a shield maiden on board along with them. They're taking such little damage. It's crazy. Shield Wall, really good. Border Militia. Summon a foot soldier token to each site you control that borders an enemy site with, on a long enough time scale, this card gets stronger. As the game goes on, this card only gets stronger, right? So it is pretty wise to hold this towards the end game, when you all have a bunch of sites in the realm and you're able to just capitalize on this even more. I was running 3 copies, but I found that 3 copies was too much, and I just substituted for an extra copy of Tactical Move, because that's even more, it wins you the game more in a sense. So, but casting this and then next turn, while you have like a bunch of sites on the board, and the next turn casting King of the Realm, get a bunch of 2/2s, pretty solid. Grapple Shot. An ally basically teleports and strikes something, you end up in their back row. If you grapple shot using, say, the Vanguard Knights when they're 4 power, and you're striking their avatar for 4, and then smacking them again with an actual attack and move, that's 8 damage in 1 turn. Pretty beastly. And then arc lightning. Sometimes you just need to arc lightning something. Deal 4 damage to target nearby unit. Deal 4 damage to one of their big guys before attacking it and bringing it down. Or, you know, you just cast your apprentice wizard to a forward sight and you try to smack their avatar for game. And there's our support. And there you have it, folks. I hope that this has inspired some of you to go ahead and make your own little human, mortal-centric aggro list. I'm sure there's a ton out there. I mean, this is probably like a dime a dozen. Who doesn't want to play as humanity? Humanity forever! I know I do. I had a blast making this deck. I love deck building and homebrewing is like my favorite aspect of any trading card game. Favorite. And then tweaking it, making it stronger. This isn't necessarily an optimal deck. I'm sure there's a number of you that could take this list and just make like a way more powerful, way more consistent deck than I can. But this is like my first deck tech on this channel. So I just want to thank you for joining me. If you like content like this, because I have more coming up, more deck techs to come, and more box openings, if you could believe it. I've got some on the way. So something special for you. I hope you're all doing well wherever you're at, and I'll see you next time. Peace.